Blog Talk Radio.
Years from now, some of them may look back and ask themselves whether they've made the right choice, whether they've made the most of the opportunities they've been given. Together, we have the same mission. Over the course of your life, you will find that things are not always fair. You will find that things happen to you that you do not deserve and that are not always warranted. But you have to put your head down and fight, fight, fight. Never, ever, ever give up. Don't give in, don't back down, and never stop doing what you know is right. Nothing worth doing ever, ever, ever came easy. And the more righteous your fight, the more opposition that you will face. In your hearts are inscribed the values of service, sacrifice, and devotion. Now you must go forth into the world and turn your hopes and dreams into action. America has always been the land of dreams because America is a nation of true believers. When the Pilgrims landed at Plymouth, they prayed. When the founders wrote the Declaration of Independence, they invoked our Creator 4 times. Because in America, we don't worship government, we worship God. It is why our currency proudly declares, "In God we trust." And it's why we proudly proclaim that we are one nation under God. The story of America is the story of an adventure that began with deep faith, big dreams, and humble beginnings. The next generation of American leaders, never, ever give up. There'll be times in your life you'll want to quit. Never quit. Never stop fighting for what you believe in and for the people who care about you. Carry yourself with dignity and pride. Demand the best from yourself. The more people tell you it's not possible, that it can't be done, the more you should be absolutely determined to prove them wrong. Treat the word impossible as nothing more than motivation. Relish the opportunity to be an outsider. The more that a broken system tells you that you're wrong, the more certain you should be that you must keep pushing ahead. You must keep pushing forward. And always have the courage to be yourself. America is better when people put their faith into action. Pray to God and follow His teachings. Today, each of you begins a new chapter as well. When your story goes from here, it will be defined by your vision, your perseverance, and your grit. You will build a future where we have the courage to chase our dreams no matter what the cynics and the doubters have to say. You will have the confidence to speak the hopes in your hearts and to express the love that stirs your souls. As long as you have pride in your beliefs, courage in your convictions, and faith in God, then you will not fail. As long as America remains true to its values, loyal to its citizens, and devoted to its Creator, then our best days are yet to come. May God bless the class of 2017. May God bless the United States of America. And I just want to let you know that God blesses you. And I want to just say, you are special in every way. God bless you, and God bless America. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you very much.
The reason the original 13th Amendment was drafted after the War of 1812 was because we didn't want kings, queens, squires running our country. They came back to try and steal it from us, and we said, no, thank you. In 1819, that's what passed. No titles of ability shall serve. There was 19 copies of the original 13th Amendment that have been codified into parchments all over this country. That got buried because of the Civil War. And it resurfaced again in 1865 when they rewrote the 13th Amendment and made it about involuntary servitude, slavery. Okay? That's the first big lie. The second big lie was 3 years later, in 1868, the 14th Amendment was drafted, and they tried to shove it down everybody's throats. 41% of the states said, we don't want this. 2 actually held out. New Jersey and Ohio said, God, no, we don't want to be part of the United States. We don't want to lose our freedom as Virginians, New Jerseyans, Ohioans, New Hampshire's, whatever. They didn't want to change their title. They didn't want to change their status. They wanted to remain a union of states where we were independent nation states, trading amongst ourselves. Everything was great. We were Americans. Were we not Americans from 1776 till 1868? We were Americans. In 1868, they forced the United States citizenship status on everybody. Unconstitutionally, by the way, because it was done under duress, under fraud, and that was proven in 1878. United States versus Throckmorton, fraud initiates everything. I'm sure you've heard that phrase before. So now we're U.S. citizens in 1868, but 3 years later, the USDC, the United States District of Columbia, was formed and incorporated, a federal corporation, that's right, governed by a legislative democracy. Meanwhile, America was a constitutional republic. So So you see, we have two different governments going on in this country, but that same year that they incorporated the U.S., the Bar Association was also formed. Now, we all know that the Bar Association is really responsible for most evil in this country. Yeah. Right? Yeah. They're with the Teamsters, except they have titles of nobility. What do we have running around Capitol Hill right now? Lots of attorneys, lots of titles of nobility, lots of esquires. And the corporation, the corporate shield, the corporate construct was born. The attorneys have been behind it all. And I know some great attorneys who agree with me. One of them is Todd Counselor, Tom Renz. They both agree. You should do what Ann does. You should opt out of this crazy system. Because what has happened with the corporation and the incorporation of everything, the federal government, then all the states became subchapters, your municipalities, your counties, all of it downline, they've all incorporated. So those de jure constitutional seats of government were abandoned for working for the corporation. Your police officers, I know there's great police officers. We respect our law and order, like President Trump says. But there's a lot that just work for the corporation. They work for the municipal. They're policy enforcers. They're not following the Constitution. So what's happened with this incorporation, with the federal government being a legislative democracy, it is governed as an administrative agency. And we've now seen in 1935, Franklin Delano Roosevelt passed the Federal Register Act, which is what started and created all these agencies. Now, you want to understand how you interact with this corporation? Well, free people don't contract with corporations. The government had to make sure they could turn you into chattel, and to do that, they had to incorporate you, turn you into your own corporation. 1907, the birth certificate was passed, the act, and through that, and Social Security, when you're born, your parents should sign you up. They don't know that they're signing you into corporate debt slavery. They don't know that they've monetized you, turned you into chattel for the government. That's the only way the government can truly enslave you, is through mandate and through contracting with your corporate vessel. So while you, as a free man, with your first and last name, uppercase, lowercase, you believe you exist, what the corporation has done, what the federal government, the corporation of the federal government has done, is they've contracted and turned you into a vessel, a corporate shield of yourself with your all-caps name. Look at your drivers, your Social Security, your passport, your bank statements, anything that's...
In the councils of government, we must guard against the acquisition of unwarranted influence, whether sought or unsought, by the military-industrial complex. The potential for the disastrous rise of misplaced power exists and will persist. We must never let the weight of this combination endanger our liberties or democratic processes. We should take nothing for granted. Only an alert and knowledgeable citizenry can compel the proper meshing of the huge industrial and military machinery of defense with our peaceful methods and goals, so that security
appeared before the Congressional Committee to tell what I appeared before the Congressional Committee to tell what I knew of activities which might lead to an attempt to set up a fascist dictatorship.
The potential for the disastrous rise of misplaced power exists and will persist.
The very word secrecy is repugnant in a free and open society. And we are, as a people, inherently and historically opposed to secret societies, to secret oaths, and to secret proceedings.
President Bush signed a formal agreement that will end the United States as we know it, and he took the step without approval from either the U.S. Congress or the people of the United States.
The secret organizations of the world power elite are no longer secret.
It's known as the Bilderberg Group. Could their objective be world domination?
I'm Jim Tucker. I've chased Bilderberg for 30 years. I'll never give up the chase. Bilderberg's plan for the whole world is nothing less than world government.
I'm not comfortable with that at all. Who elected these guys to run the planet?
They are the elitists. They feel they should run the world for their own selfish interests.
Now we can see a new world coming into view. A world in which there is a very real prospect of a new world order.
Bilderberg is making great progress toward a world government, and only an educated, informed public can stop them in their tracks.
David Rockefeller admits in his own memoirs that he wants to destroy the United States. Right. He's a traitor.
It's good to be back at the Council on Foreign Relations. As Pete mentioned, I've been a member for a long time and was actually a director for some period of time. I never mentioned that when I was campaigning for re-election back home in Wyoming.
Let us never tolerate outrageous conspiracy theories.
I need you to move off the property, please.
Some shots were fired.
Bilderbergers right there.
The Trans-Texas Corridor is a vital part because we stop it here in Texas. We stop the New World Order right here in Texas.
This thing started here. And to save this country, we kill this damn thing here.
A chance for the President of the United States to carry out a phrase his father used, and that is a New World Order.
Your New World Order will fall. Humanity will defeat you. The answer to 1984 is 1776.
He's the T-Rex of political talk. Alex Jones on the GCN Radio Network.
Chuck Norris joining us in the next hour to talk about the global government takeover taking place right now in Copenhagen, Denmark. The takeover of healthcare, so we're all beholden to the government, making us dependent on them. That's happening as well right now. They're breaking it all down with Chuck Norris. You know, I forgot he was good friends with Steve McQueen. I'm a Steve McQueen fan. Maybe I'll ask him to tell us a Bruce Lee or Steve McQueen story. Chuck Norris scheduled to be joining us in the second hour today. And then we do have Christopher Horner joining us, a senior fellow at the CEI, Competitive Enterprise Institute. He's exposing what's happening over in Copenhagen. He wrote Red Hot Lies, How Global Warming Alarmists Use Threats, Fraud, and Deception to Keep You Misinformed. And then we also have Dr. Niles Axel Morner joining us. He's over in Copenhagen, breaking down the fraud taking place as we continue to track one of the most important conferences in modern history. Well, the UN says it's the most important, and I agree with them. If they're able to ram this through, this is open establishment of total private, unelected banking government. I mean, we are actual profit of private bankers, pretty much already. By the way, I have a RAND Corporation report here in front of me. I saw this on the LRC blog by William Gregg. And I actually read most of the 190-something page PDF this weekend, and it was very painful to read. It just confirms everything we already knew. But the police are already being totally federalized. The U.S. Army is going to operate through the Pentagon a domestic military force called the... let me just read to you the actual... a stability police force for the United States, justification and options for creating U.S. capabilities. And it says that a Pentagon-run police force will run all the local police departments. Actually says it. Now, again, they propose it years after it's already in place. That's why they're putting Pentagon liaisons in all the departments and CIA liaisons in the threat fusion centers. I mean, this is so illegal, so dangerous, so un-American. This isn't a red flag. This is a red volcano erupting. I mean, this is run for the hills bad. This is worse than North Korea, worse than Mexico, worse than Communist China. I mean, this is complete federal death squads. And they state it's for the U.S. collapsing. See, the bankers are going to collapse everything. And a lot of people are only going to serve the government with that much more glee. A lot of people, as the tyranny intensifies through cowardice, will actually serve it and vitriolically praise it and convince themselves that they like it and that it's good, while even at a conscious level knowing they're just cowards and they're scared to death of it. Very few times in my life have I experienced just the edge of that psychological phenomenon and then recoiled from it from my very core of being a sentient human being. But that's what George Orwell talks about with Crime Stop and Doublethink in 1984. How people instantly see corruption, instantly see oppression, instantly see hypocrisy and tyranny and degradation, and then just spin it in their own minds that it's a good thing so they can feel like they're part of the system and have power over it. Because deep down they are so deathly afraid of it. They think by laughing and smiling and giggling and having kind of an arrogant, haughty attitude that it gives them control over it. Just know this, everything being set up by private Fortune 100 corporations, everything being set up by our criminal, illegitimate government, everything being set up by the UN, everything being pushed is a unified global agenda on record that is a 180 degrees the opposite of not just our Bill of Rights, Constitution, Declaration of Independence, but the Magna Carta, the Geneva Convention, the Ten Commandments. I mean, any moral yardstick by any angle, whether it be sociological, psychological, from the angle of anthropology. If we were a civilization 100 years in the future, looking back on this time, it would clearly be stated this was a time of just absolute propaganda, mass drugging of the public, brainwashing, and tyranny. Going on in front of everyone, just outrageous crimes that the illegitimate global government practices and sets precedents to do whatever they want, whenever they want, however they want, with the media culture marinating the public mind in torture and abuse and slavery and degradation and humiliation and tyranny, and packaging it in a sicky sweet envelope of we're the good guys, we're the good people, we're saving the world. And it's only going to get worse. I mean, we have just begun the plunge. We just went off the cliff. When you hit the bottom, when all of us hit the bottom, in the years to come, when we bounce on those rocks at the bottom, it is not going to look good. It is not going to feel good. Okay, right now we're just falling off the side. And a few of us got our bloody fingernails into the side, sliding down, just hopefully trying to find some purchase, hoping to find some place to grab hold. And spiritually obese and decadent people are hanging off of our legs, pulling on us, screaming, let go, you're keeping us from heaven. And so don't worry, they're going to get what they want. We're going to hit bottom. And they're so brainwashed, so drugged out, so stupid, so cowardly. They've been brought through successive programs of intensifying corruption, accepting lies, that now they believe lies and evil are good and that good is bad. And so many people are going to love the tyranny. They're very childlike, very dog-like. It's like taking an old dog out that's got cancer, and you don't want to take it into the vet to have them put it down that way. You know, that actually scares them worse. They can smell the death in there. So you just walk them back on the back 40. You've already got their grave dug. You pat them a little bit on the head and stick the .243 rifle butt to the side of their face and smile at them and tell them you love them and pull the trigger. But instead, the New World Order doesn't love us. It enjoys putting a bullet in our head. But we're just like the dog, though, lovingly having no idea. You ever watch the footage of the Soviets and the Nazis running people they were going to execute into shallow grave pits? And they run one group of men in, and they dutifully bow to the soldiers as they run by, submissively with their hat in their hand, and show them how they run quickly and step over the dead bodies. And you know, because all they want's the approval of the authority figure, the uniform. They want the approval. Oh, blow my head off. Ooh, you're wearing fancy black boots. You've got little fancy buttons on your caps, like a king's crown. Blow my brains out. I'm not going to run by you and grab you by the throat and try to rip your nose off. No, I'm not going to have any humanity to fight back. I'm going to run down into the pit. And that's what America is. You know, you look at those people in Europe and call them cowards. No, it's the peer pressure. 90% of Americans would run their children into pits to have their heads blown off and would thank the officers who did it, because they worship it. You want to live in a police state? You do. Drive down the road. Half the billboards I see are government admonishments. The government's the mommy, the daddy. It's bossing you. Spy on your neighbors. Don't abuse children. Don't smoke pot. Oh, do you have a gun? Oh, there's an old lady missing. Because the government, it's the one that cares. It's the one that tells you about the old lady missing. Just all the message that they're the good guys. And you watch shows like Cops. Everyone's a white trash scum. Everyone's got drool coming out of their mouth and missing teeth. Everyone's guilty, and the cops are in fancy uniforms and all have their stuff together. And the image is the public's all a bunch of scum, and the police are God, and only they will save us. You know what happens in cultures where the police are worshipped? You die. You become slaves. But you don't want to face that, do you? You just want to be throttled by government, owned by big corporations. And don't worry, you are. They're going to take everything you've got. And they're going to take your sons and daughters' minds. They're going to come home and preach at you about the global government and the carbon tax and rebuke you over your firearms or rebuke you when you try to discipline them. And they'll scream and beg to come home after the CPS takes them. But that won't matter because the news will never warn the other kids. And it will go on and on and on, being trampled on by tyrants. But don't worry, in this new system, you're going to get to trample people, though, when you spy on your neighbors and tattle. You won't care if you get trampled on as long as you can trample on somebody, too, because that's all that really matters to you. You know, I keep giving a decade-old number. I'm sorry, it's 60 million abortions, because they're not humans, and neither are you.
Yeah, well, perfect example this morning. Well, there you go. I'll let you hear it for yourself. The Thugs did it again.
Round 2 of the PGA Championship at Valhalla Golf Club, just outside of Louisville, Kentucky. That's where it's at.
I'm Gary Strikey. The start of Friday's second round delayed for at least an hour, Randy, with reports of an accident just outside of the gates of the golf club.
Yeah, that delay coming, news coming in as you take looks here, live looks down in Louisville, Kentucky. Outside the championship gate, let's throw down to Valhalla now with more from Dave Fleming. Dave, good morning.
All right, good morning, guys. It is truly a strange scene, and you can see what it looks like outside the gates here at Valhalla Golf Club, where the sun has started to come up. So what is happening is a little more visible than it was just about an hour ago. A massive delay. We were told there was an accident just before we arrived here on property, and that accident involved a pedestrian fatality. So that's one part of the story. Dave Fleming, Andy North, Jeff Darlington. It has been a scramble this morning to get here and get ready. And, guys, that's only part of the story. We don't know much more about the accident, Jeff. We do know that wasn't the only thing that happened outside the gates this morning.
That's correct. Entering Valhalla Golf Club this morning, we witnessed a car pull around us that was Scotty Scheffler was in the car. To be very clear about the details here, Scotty Scheffler has been detained by police officers, placed in the back of a police vehicle in handcuffs after he tried to pull around what he believed to be security, ended up being police officers. They told him to stop. When he didn't stop, the police officer attached himself to the vehicle. Scheffler then traveled another 10 yards before stopping the car. The police officer then grabbed at his arm, attempting to pull him out of the car before Scheffler eventually opened the door, at which point the police officer pulled Scheffler out of the car, pushed him up against the car, and immediately placed him in handcuffs. Scheffler was then walked over to the police car, placed in the back in handcuffs, very stunned about what was happening, looked toward me as he was in those handcuffs and said, "Please help me." He very clearly did not know what was happening in the situation. It moved very quickly, very rapidly, very aggressively. He was detained in that police vehicle for approximately 20 minutes. The police officers at that point did not understand that Scotty Scheffler was a golfer in the tournament, nor, of course, that he is the number one player in the world.
How do you explain this stuff? I mean, there's been hundreds of times that you've come up to a gate as a player and gone around security people to get into the golf course. Unfortunately, these things are happening, and then right now it's just crazy. We don't have any idea exactly where we are at this moment.
Some more details, so as I step back, obviously this is something that we just witnessed, and we're essentially trying to explain what it is that we saw. This is not what we're being told, this is what we saw. So there was a bus that was essentially waiting to enter the property. Traffic was backed up miles because we were told by police officers there was a pedestrian fatality. Police officers also instructed us that the only people that were allowed to enter Valhalla Golf Club were players. We were then positioned second in line to enter Valhalla Golf Club behind the bus that did not have a driver in the driver's seat. Police officers were trying to attempt to figure out why that bus was still sitting there at the entrance, not moving. We were waiting behind that car. Scheffler's car, did not know it was Scheffler's car at the time, and was marked as an official vehicle of the PGA Championship. It had that marking on the side. He was the only person in the vehicle. He was driving the vehicle. He attempted to pull around into the shoulder, which was a wide shot. It was not off-road by any means. He pulled his car around at that point. That's when the police officer told him he needed to stop. I shouldn't assume anything. It seemed as if he said something to the police officer and then continued to go. He went again about 10 yards before the police officer then started to bang on his vehicle, yell obscenities. Eventually, when Scheffler lowered the window, the police officer grabbed his arm and started to pull it out of the vehicle. That's all I got.
So that's now live. They are starting to allow some of that backup to make its way into the golf course. And
Look, Jeff, there are two different incidents this morning, and I think it's important that we have it detailed on the screen there. This is not related to the accident, and what we were told was the pedestrian fatality. We don't want to be a part of this story, but we happened to be there. You and I happened to be there right as this was happening. And we were told by those security officers that players were allowed to get into the golf club. So I'm sure that Scotty Scheffler was told that same thing. Nobody else was allowed in, but players were going to be allowed in. So, again, we're not going to speculate on what he was thinking or what he specifically was told, and I'm assuming that he was told the same thing we were.
Some more information too that I should, as this is all coming to mind, I attempted to then walk across the street to speak with police officers, instructed that I was a member of the media. They told me that I was now part of the investigation, that I very aggressively walked me to the other side of the road and told me I'd be arrested if I continued to pursue. When I did attempt to get to the back of the squad car, I did hear Scotty try to address the person who ripped him from the vehicle, the police officer ripped him from the vehicle, and tell him, I did not know you were a police officer. At least based on what I heard Scotty say to the police officer, some confusion about it.
And we don't know that they've announced that the tee times have been officially delayed by at least an hour. And most of that, I think, is related to the accident of the backup. It is a massive traffic backup. They're trying to get players, caddies, officials here onto the golf course.
Dave, I was in the car maybe 2 minutes behind you guys, and we sat out literally the last half a mile for half an hour, and the traffic's not moving at all. It's absolutely a gridlock out there. I don't know how they can get people in and out of the golf course any quicker than they're doing, because there's no other way to get in here.
I don't know if the Scheffler incident has anything to do with their feelings of starting the tournament on time or not. I don't know.
Again, as this is coming to me, I can also tell you that a police officer did tell me, as I attempted to approach the patrol car that had Scotty Scheffler in the back of it, there is, I made clear, I police thought that I was with Scotty Scheffler. I made very clear that I was with the media. He said, there's nothing you can do, he's going to jail. Police officer looked me in the eye and said, there's nothing you can do, he's going to jail. And the one time was Scotty Scheffler was heading to the handcuffs in the back of the police car.
And the craziness that can happen when you get a situation like this, and obviously the thoughts are for the family who lost somebody this morning, and to have these kind of things happen, and we see confrontation at gates, players getting in and out, the family getting in and out all the time. But I'm assuming everybody was Major League on high alert after this horrible accident this morning.
And Scheffler, by the way, to be clear, was not confrontational. That's right.
Yeah, as far as we could see, there was no confrontation.
I walked up to the vehicle. Scott was still, he was being taken out of the car and placed in handcuffs as I was approaching the vehicle, and at no time did he raise his voice beyond, it was well below where I'm at.
And since we're approaching it, I'm sure people are tuning into us and moment by moment, just wondering what is going on. So there are two things happening this morning here in Valhalla, and we do have video of Scotty Scheffler.
Let me tell you what's going on, okay? You bunch of quacks telling the truth, though, the guy in the middle there. I know you guys can't see it. You know, but the other two quacks and ducks, you know, trying to pad the story, stick up for the heroes, you know. I'm stunned. I can't believe they would do it to us, the number one golf player in the world. No, this is what they do, these fat faggots, okay? Don't get it wrong, get in the car. He attached himself to the car, hanging onto the car like a jackass, you know, and then rips him out of the car like that. Rips him out. I could only imagine. And he yelled obscenities. I can only imagine what he was saying. Why don't you tell us what he's saying? You scumbag. You doing? You disobey a cop, a king. I'm a god. I'm a god. You see this bag? That's right. You obey. You obey. Get out of here. He's going to jail. There's nothing you can do about it. You understand? That's what he said. Looked him in the eyes. There's nothing you can do about it. Yeah. I'm a god. You see this badge? I got a gun and a badge. You're not allowed to have a gun. Yeah, unless you get permission. Yeah. I work for the bankers. Yeah. Little does he know they're going to chew him out, spit him out too when they're already robbing his pension, his 401k. Doesn't even know it yet. Okay? He's pulling you could tell. And you could tell all those cops right there. The woman was waving the camera like, get out of here, get out of here. Remember, the media is supposed to be allowed to have access to those stories and to be allowed to interact. That's a bunch of crap. Freedom of the press should not be obstructed, you faggots. You know, one thing I got to say about the black community, you know, in this country. You know what? They would have done that to a black man. They would have been 40. They would have went and helped him right there. And then something would have started. And you know what? They have every right to get upset, flipping cars over and everything. You know what? I kind of agree with BLM now. God bless them. You know what? Enough is enough. Wake up, white America. White America. I can't believe the number one golf player in the world. I can't believe it. I can't believe it. What's going on? This goes on every single day, you quacks. You sit behind a desk in front of a camera. That's why you're part of the establishment. Yeah. How could they do this to you? Yeah. Maybe now some of you will wake up in the media. Some of you, the bankers, maybe some of you out there will wake up. You're not a part. It's a big club, and you're not in it. Remember that. You're not in it. The same club that beats you over the head every single day, telling you what to believe, what to do. Unbelievable. Got me fired up, man, when I see stuff like this. Tell you right, it's happened to me. It happened to me. They got me, hemmed me up. But I was inside their gulag, their concrete box. Okay? Beat me down. You know, I managed to get a couple licks in. You know, they had a hard time with me. You know, took about, maybe like 12, 13 of them. You know, finally get me down. Yeah. Lucky we weren't out, lucky I didn't have a couple of my allies with me. You know, these people, they deserve it. You know, and if they're our heroes, you know. Oh, you got to march in every single time something happens. The one march in. I can't believe it. You know, and then they all get out and they start racing around, pulling people over. Going to take the public, the general public. Get them. Ah. These New World Order thugs, fat faggots. Well, hey, look. When they come for you, don't cry. You see? I've always said that. When they come for you, don't cry and complain. Because they're coming for you. They got Trump. They're going to come for you, too. All of you. They're going to get you. They're coming for you. And those of you that attack, listen, the New World Order attacks and feeds on you. They're going to chew you out and spit you out. They got the boys with the cat's eyes. Military equipment. Okay? They'll flashbang you. You just don't know it. You just don't know it yet. I hope you're starting to wake up and understand this. I really do. I hope you are. Shame on you. Shame on you. Oh, boy. The globalists, man. They got to listen, these guys are out there running around with their race cars and their Christmas lights on the car. They don't need to be out there like, they've got it all locked down, the whole damn freaking street locked down like that. Well, a tragedy happened. Yeah. Imagine if it was a police officer that got killed in an accident. Oh, boy. He would have really got ripped out of the car. He probably would have got beat down. He's lucky the cameras were there. He's lucky. Because that sounds like a cop right there, and that crew that was there, those guys would have beat him down. He would have got batoned. Let me tell you that right now. Beat down, electrocuted, and then slammed into the back of the car, and then they would have got him again in the jail. Maybe killed him. Maybe would have killed him too, if he wasn't famous. And, they do it every day in America, folks. Inmate dead in your custody. He overdosed. Yeah, he didn't overdose. He overdosed with getting hit and beaten down with clubs and electrocuted. But you people don't pay attention. You won't rise up. You don't know. We've been calling for it. Restore the republic. Common law. We don't need these policy enforcers out there running around. They have no business. These codified statutes. They are not laws. Okay? The corporation. We go over this all the time on my show. All the time. And now, things like this, it just gets me going. It's like, we told you. But you just don't want to. You just don't want to react. You just don't want to unseat these criminal bankers. I mean, man, oh man, I just don't know what to say. How to wake you up? If this don't wake you up, nothing will. I kind of got to say COVID. If that didn't wake you up, down like a bunch of sheeple. Man, oh, man. Yeah, number one golfer in the world, huh? Yeah. Can't believe this happened. And the guy's mad. The guy there in the center. There's three guys at the table there, the ESPN there. The guy in the center there, he saw it first and he witnessed it. He saw it. What else did they say after that? I think that they got a statement from the cops here. Hang on, let me see. Let's finish playing. It's a couple minutes long.
For world number one being detained, an incident not related to a separate accident. We were told when we arrived on property that accident involved a pedestrian fatality. There were, I don't know how many dozen police cars out near the entrance. It happened somewhere very close to the entrance to the golf club. There were 50 police cars maybe out there when we first arrived. A massive backup. Scotty Scheffler's incident is not related to that. Separate from that. Scotty was trying to get on property. And again, we were told players were going to be allowed to get through the gate onto the golf course. Nobody else was going to be allowed, but players, coaches were going to be allowed to get onto the property. And Scotty was trying to do that, and that led to the second incident separate from the pedestrian fatality.
To once again explain sort of the surreal nature of this, and again, to be very clear, when you see these teams of these police cars, that is unrelated to Scotty Scheffler's situation entirely. In fact, the police officers around the patrol car in which Scotty Scheffler was in had no idea that he was even Scotty Scheffler. I say that because one police officer came up to me with his pad and said, "Hey man, can you tell me the name of the person that we just arrested?" Yeah, which, I mean, it seems hard to believe, but it was dark. It was already chaotic. It was raining. I think everybody was already on edge. Whatever happened this morning was a very serious incident, and I think clearly people were on edge because of that. And I don't know if that exacerbated the situation or what. We were just told that the PGA of America has said they're going to have another update at 7:30. So we're almost at the top of the hour. So we're still a half hour away. Play has been delayed by at least an hour. At 7:30, they're going to give us another update as to when they might be able to get the second round of this championship underway, a championship that, we don't know, but it started to take the handcuffs to give you a vivid picture of what was happening. They started to, I thought, take the handcuffs off of Scheffler, at which point I thought he was going to be released. They then helped him adjust his wrist and place the handcuffs back on Scotty Scheffler in the back of the patrol car. Scotty's tee time was roughly 8:48 Eastern time scheduled, and so that then.
What if you could do SEO smarter and faster? With Wix, you can edit your meta tag.
World number one golfer Scotty Scheffler was arrested in Kentucky Friday morning on his way to the PGA Championship. He was charged with second-degree assault of a police officer. Gibson in release. Danya Bonkas has more details.
Scotty Scheffler eventually teed off at the PGA Championship in Louisville Friday after a chaotic morning that landed him in jail. The world's number one ranked golfer is facing numerous charges, including assaulting a police officer. It all happened after a fatal road accident that caused a massive traffic jam heading to the golf. Police say Scheffler disobeyed orders to stop his car, accelerated forward, and dragged an officer to the ground.
I believe he attempted to explain who he was and why he was trying to get onto the golf course, but I'm not sure that information quite got to the police.
Scheffler said in a statement that he was proceeding as directed by officers, that it was a chaotic situation and quote, a big misunderstanding of what I thought I was being asked to do. I never intended to disregard any of the instructions.
I feel like I had to I can't really explain what happened this morning. I did spend some time stretching at jail cell over the first meeting.
Despite the hectic morning, Scheffler's play wasn't affected, shooting a 5-under-66, one stroke better than his Thursday round.
Yeah, I'm trying to play good. It was definitely challenging. I did my best to control my mind, control my breathing.
The 27-year-old golfer has hired a local attorney.
Moving pretty fast this time, but we'll let it take to the
Scheffler is the hottest player on the PGA Tour. The Masters champ is seeking his fifth win in 6 starts and a second consecutive major title.
Oh, well, there you go. He hired a maggot lawyer. There you go, maggot lawyer. Yeah, they'll do them real well. Money in the bank for them. Yep, the judge and them, they're drooling. You know, where's his first appearance? You know, money. Oh, yeah, money for the bank. Yep, judge, bank. Yep, look it up. Look up Black's Law Dictionary. Yep, bank, river, both sides of the river there. Bank, river bank. Yep. Look it all up. Money. That's what it's all about. Assaulted a police officer. Bullshit. What a bunch of crap. If anything, the police officer obstructed him from going where he had to go. The police officer would be charged for kidnapping, assault. You know what? Throw everything at him. What the hell? You know, that's how it should be. There's a people, but you people are slaves. You're slaves. You hear that? He's charged. I mean charged. Cha-ching! Charged. What's he buying something? Charged. Like the bills, they come out. Bills to the people. Bills. House bill. Bill. Yep. That's what they call it that. Ah, boy, oh boy. Let me tell you. Well, no, it's when you're going to wake up, people, because it's you next. Right next to this story. You should I put it on YouTube. I'm going to comment on all the videos I can. I always do. You know, until they kick me off YouTube. I already got 2 strikes. I'm waiting for my 3rd. I've been trying to get them, you know, because, you know, screw it. Tell me what I could say. But anyway, besides that, yeah, you're next. Remember that. Everyone that's listening to this call, you're next. If you haven't been part of it yet, you're next. They're coming for you. They're coming for everything. Your Second Amendment, everything, okay? First Amendment, shut down. You're not allowed to speak. You don't have no right to travel. Fourth Amendment, that's been gone for a while, okay? You're a 14th Amendment slave. That's what you are. Remember that. Man, oh, man. Well, I mean, any comment, 657-383-0616. Press the number 1 if you'd like to comment on this. Let me just play 2 minutes of something here that will explain to you why this is happening to Mr. Scotty, okay? Let me just play this here for you. If I can get it up, I should be able to get it up here. Yeah.
Running our country. They came back to try and steal it from us. We had to thank you. In 1819, not to a pass, no challenge of the ability to appear. There were 19 copies of the original 13th Amendment that have been codified into parchments all over this country. That got buried because of the Civil War. And it resurfaced again in 1865 when they rewrote the 13th Amendment and made it about involuntary servitude, slavery. Okay? That's the first big lie. The second big lie was 3 years later, 1868, the 14th Amendment was drafted, and they tried to shove it down everybody's throats. 41% of the states said, we don't want this. 2 actually held out. New Jersey and Ohio said, God, no, we don't want to be part of the United States. We don't want to lose our freedom as Virginians, New Jerseyans, Ohioans, New Hampshireans, whatever. They didn't want to change their title. They didn't want to change their status. They wanted to remain a union of states where we were independent nation states trading amongst ourselves. Everything was great. We were Americans. Were we not Americans from 1776 to 1868? We were Americans. In 1868, they forced the United States citizenship status on everybody. Unconstitutionally, by the way, because it was done under duress, under fraud, and that was proven in 1878. United States versus Throckmorton, fraud initiates everything. I'm sure you've heard that phrase before. So now we're U.S. citizens in 1868, but 3 years later, the USDC, the United States District of Columbia, was formed and incorporated, a federal corporation. That's right, governed by a legislative democracy. Meanwhile, America was a constitutional republic. So you see, we had 2 different governments going on in this country, but that same year that they incorporated the U.S., the Bar Association was also formed. Now, we all know that the Bar Association is really responsible for most evil in this country. Right? Yeah. They're technical. They're the teachers, except they have titles and nobility. What do we have running around Capitol Hill right now? Lots of attorneys, lots of titles and nobility, lots of esquires. And the corporation, the corporate shield, the corporate contract was born. The attorneys have been behind it all. And I know some great attorneys who agree with me. One of the subchapters, your municipalities, your counties, all of it, downtown, they've all incorporated. So the your constitutional states of government were abandoned for working for the corporation. Your police officers, I know there's great police officers. We respect their law and order, and President Trump says. But they're not, they just work for the corporation. They work for the municipal. They're policy enforcers. They're not following the Constitution. So what's happened with this corporation, with the federal government being a legislative democracy, it is governed as an administrative agency. And we've now seen in 1935, Franklin Delano Roosevelt passed the Federal Register Act, which is what started and created all designated agencies. Now, you want to understand how you interact with this corporation? Well, three people built contract with corporations. The government had to make sure they could turn you into chattel, and to do that, they had to incorporate you, turn you into your own corporation. In 1907, the birth certificate was passed, the act, and through that, and Social Security, when you're born, your parents can sign you up. They don't know that they're signing you into corporate debt slavery. They don't know that they've monetized you, turned you into chattel for the government. That's the only way the government can truly enslave you, is through mandate and through contracting with your corporate vessel. So you as a free man, with your first and last name, uppercase, lowercase, you believe you exist. What the corporation has done with the federal government, the corporation and the federal government has done is they've contracted and turned you into a vessel, a corporate shield of yourself with your old cash name. Look at your driver's, your social security, your passport, your bank statement, anything that's federal.
There you go. She said it right there in a nutshell. 4 minutes and 25 seconds. She said it all. Right there. Perfect. Couldn't have said it better. Could not have said it better. That's right, folks. That's what you are. That's what you are. You are slaves. You heard that, Sarge? I hope you're listening, Sarge. She just explained it to you. 14th Amendment there. She just explained it right there. 4 minutes, 25 seconds. Right there. I could not have said it better myself. All these years I've been shouting it. But I tell you what, boy, I wish I would have met her about 15, 20 years ago. Would have saved myself a lot of breath. A lot of talking points. 14th Amendment slave. That's right. And that's what happened to the golfer today. He's a slave. He's going to jail. And there's nothing you could do about it, the cop said. There's nothing you could do about it. He said, please help me, the golfer. Yeah. You need help now, pal. You need help now. Oh, yeah. Imagine all the other people that get hemmed up and trapped and beaten down. Please help me. Yeah. Please help when you're handcuffed and you're trapped. Because the policy enforcers were dealing with you. Hey, you got to be dealt with. Okay, now look, man. Look, peace officers. Hey, we got to have peace in society. We got to be a nation of laws. Of course, I got that. But law, common law, what this country was founded upon, not what it has become. What we have become now is a corporation. What she just explained, that is un-American. That is not what our founders envisioned. This is not what our founders fought for and bled for. This is not what you fought in wars for, soldiers, the veterans. This is not what you swore an oath to. You were deceived. Okay? What are these people thinking that do this stuff when they hold up their right hand, swear an oath to uphold the Constitution? What, they got their fingers crossed behind their back? This is disgusting. This is terrible. Look at our Congress now. Look at the Judicial Committee. What there? Anyone catch that one? AOC and Green going at it there, huh? You hear AOC? Yeah, baby girl. Who the hell talks like that in the chambers of Congress? What the hell kind of crap is that? What is it? Where are we? On the board? Where are we? On the streets? Martin Luther King Drive someplace? Baby girl. Stupid. I mean, come on, man. Believe it. Our country is gone. And Donald Trump, they're going to get him hemmed up, and then they're going to make a deal. They're going to say, look, you're going to lose this election, we'll let you out. Well, you're going to jail for the rest of your life. Yeah. Let me tell you something right now. As it looks right now, he's going to jail. When you think he gets found guilty, you think the judge is going to what do you think the judge is going to do? Suspend the sentence? What do you think the judge is going to do to him? Send him to jail. Federal prison, man. There ain't no appeals. He can appeal all he wants. The judge ain't going to let him out. Judge ain't going to let him out on appeal bond. Ain't going to happen. He should, but he won't. So he'll be sentenced to, he'll probably do it like 1 week before the election. He'll probably sentence him. Watch. Sentencing will be right before the election. Well, that really slap us in the face. Do it on election day. No, they got to make sure he doesn't get elected. So what if he's in jail and he gets elected to office? And these good do-gooders out here, the bootlickers. The bootlickers won't vote for him then. But if everybody voted for him and just say he did get selected, they just think they weren't able to rig the states that really matter. They just can't do it. They get too nervous because the people are watching. Just say hypothetically he gets in there, he's elected, all right, and he's sitting in jail. What's going to happen? How does that work? What's he going to do? Pardon himself? I mean, can he do that? Can he pardon himself? I mean, I don't know. Or does his vice president take over, and his vice president pardons him and he gets out? I think that's how it will work, really. I think that's how it will work. I'm not sure. I mean, it's the first time it's ever happened in history. I mean, we don't know how this will work. Because if the president's in prison, he's not a part of society. It's kind of like he's dead in a way. So the vice president then would have to become president. I would think that's how it would work. But let me address something right here, this electoral college thing here real quick for Nathan that's out there listening, if he's listening. Nathan. Okay, let's put this to bed about the Electoral College here. All right. First of all, the Electoral College is mentioned in the United States Constitution, Article 2, Section 1, Clause 2 and 3. Okay, here's a brief overview there, Nathan, for you of what this clauses state. Clause 2, the clause specifies that each state shall appoint a number of electors equal to the number of senators and representatives the state has in Congress. It also states that no senator, representative, or person holding an office of trust or profit under the United States can be appointed as an elector. Clause number 3. The clause describes the process by which the electors shall meet in their respective states, vote by ballot for 2 persons, and how the votes are counted. It also outlines the procedure if no candidate receives a majority of the votes. These sections establish the foundation for the Electoral College system used to elect the President and Vice President of the United States. Case closed. Electoral College is mentioned in the Constitution. I know Nathan out there. I was listening to one of my old shows, and I heard him call in. And I was busy doing something. I said, that's Nathan there talking. I was listening. And he started going on and on. I remember the Governor Carpenter was on, and he was saying about how there's no electoral college in the Constitution. I said, what's he talking about? I had to go in my notes here and pull this out. Okay? So put that down there in case he decides to call in, Nathan. I could read it to him again. But the electoral college is mentioned in the Constitution. All right? Man. I mean, Nathan's a good guy and everything. I got nothing against him. I mean, I believe he's a patriot, believes wholeheartedly in the country, and I got nothing against him, but people sometimes don't understand, or they just don't want to understand. I don't know. But, so if you're listening, Nathan, there you go. But like I said, guys, I got nothing against Nathan. He's a good guy. He's called in many times to this show and other shows. I've spoken with him. I don't have no problems with him at all. Nice guy, and I'm sure he loves America, again, if there's somebody I would be happy to fight with and alongside, just like Sarge. I got no problem with Sarge. No problems at all. I would be more than happy to, fight for this country side by side with them. No problems at all. So just because we disagree on a few things here and there. But when it comes to the Constitution, we stand together, and for America and for this flag, we stand together, and we'll fight for it and believe wholeheartedly and willing to die for it too, for that matter. So I think we've proven that throughout our services and what we've done. So we don't have to prove anything. But anyway, for those naysayers out there, okay? But, yeah, man, we have definitely lost our republic, that is for sure. I mean, look at what happened. I mean, it's crazy. But they're coming for you, man. 657-383. Okay, let me take my first caller here. Oh, let's see here. Go ahead, dear private caller. Hopefully it's not Mike. Private caller.
No, it's not Mike, but Joe.
No, thank God.
I'm really sorry I missed that little 4-minute presentation by the person who said there were 14th Amendment slaves.
You didn't hear it?
I will go back after the show is over and I'll listen to it.
You want me to replay it? I can play it.
Well, you don't have to, but because you didn't. You don't. Well, if you want to, you can. But I really like to respond to what you said. about what will happen if President Trump is elected to the president from jail. I think it's worth considering because it's certainly possible it could happen. I'm not saying it will, but it certainly could. So what would happen? Well, let's take a look at what the Constitution says. That's where we got to look first. And if the answer isn't quite there, then I guess we're going to have to cobble something together. But here's the thing. Well, first of all, with regard to electoral college, the term electoral college is nowhere in the Constitution. The term electors are. Now, you can argue that the electors together form a college, okay, but that's a term, that's a colloquial term. That's not any term that's in the Constitution. But as long as you mean it means the same thing, meaning those people who actually vote for President of the United States, it doesn't matter what you call them. They're electors. If you want to call them, they form in a college, okay, that's fine. I'm just saying the term electoral college is not in the Constitution. I think people use that word because it's easier for people to understand it if you put it that way.
Well, this is what I got here. This is from a law professor, Sarge. This is from Duke University, this guy right here. There's Clause 2.
I don't care what he writes. I want to know. I've read the Constitution. I don't know many. I've never seen the term.
Well, he's a constitutional professor, Sarge. He's a professor. Constitutional law.
I don't care. Can the man read? If he can read, I want him to point to me where the words electoral and college appear together.
The electoral college is mentioned, Sarge. It mentioned in the United States Constitution, Article 2, Section 1, Clause 2 and 3. Article 2, Section 1, Clause 2 and 3. That's what the man says.
He said Clause 2 and 3. I'm looking at Clause 2. It says, this is Section 1, Clause 2.
Article 2.
Each state shall appoint in such manner as the legislature thereof may direct a number of electors equal to the whole number of senators and representatives to which the state may be entitled in the Congress, but no senator or representative or person holding an office of trust or profit under the United States shall be appointed in the elector. And then it goes on to give a paragraph, and nowhere in the next paragraph is the word electoral college mentioned. It's not there.
Yeah, but that has to do with the
electoral college. It's implied, but it's not stated.
Sarge, do you know what implied mean? I mean, Sarge, there's a lot of things that are not in the Constitution that we imply with our. We can't go word for word.
Look, Joe. Just a moment ago, didn't I say that if you want to term it electoral college or electoral club or an electoral gathering or an electoral whatever conference, whatever you want to call it is fine. The main thing people need to know is that they are the ones who actually vote for the president. So I'm not objecting to people calling it electoral college.
Sarge,
I'm just saying the term is not in the Constitution. That's all I'm saying.
All right. Sarge, let me play this little section here for you. It's 4 minutes long, okay? Hang on, real quick. Let me just play it, okay?
Good. It's breaking up. It's breaking up, Joe. I can't make it up.
In 1819, that's what passed. No challenge my ability shall turn out 19 copies of the original 13th Amendment that had been codified into parchment all over the country. That got buried because of the Civil War. And it resurfaced again in 1865 when they rewrote the 13th Amendment and they set out involuntary servitude slavery. Okay? That's the first big lie. The second big lie was 3 years later, 1868, the 14th Amendment was drafted, and they tried to shove it down everybody's throat. 41% of the states said, we don't want this. 2 actually held out. New Jersey and Ohio said, God, we don't want to be part of the United States. We don't want to lose our freedom as Virginians, New Jerseyans, Ohioans, New Hampshire's, whatever. They didn't want to change their title. They didn't want to change their status. They wanted to remain a union of states where we were independent nation states, trading amongst ourselves. Everything was great. We were Americans. Were we not Americans from 1776 to 1868? We were Americans. In 1868, they forced the United States citizenship status on everybody. Unconstitutionally, by the way, because it was done under duress, under fraud, and that was proven in 1878 throughout U.S. versus United States versus Throckmorton. there. So now we're U.S. citizens in 1868, but 3 years later, the USDC, the United States District of Columbia, was formed and incorporated a federal corporation, that's right, governed by a legislative democracy. Meanwhile, America was a constitutional republic. So you see, we had two different governments going on in this country, but that same year that they incorporated the U.S., the Bar Association was also formed. Now, we all know that the Bar Association is really responsible for most people in this country, right? Yeah. They're difficult. They're really more than teachers, except they have titles and abilities. What do we have running around Capitol Hill right now? Lots of attorneys, lots of titles and abilities, lots of esquires. And the corporation, the corporate shield, the corporate construct was born. The attorneys have been behind it all. And I know some great attorneys who agree with me. One of them is Todd Pounder, Tom Renz. They both agree. You should do what Ann does. You should opt out of this crazy system. Because what has happened with the corporation is the incorporation of everything, the federal government. Then all the states became subchapters, municipalities or counties, all of it, they're all incorporated. So the de jure constitutional seats of government were abandoned for working for the corporation. Your police officers, I know you're great police officers. We respect our law and order like President Trump said. But there's a lot that work for the corporation. They work for the municipal. They're policy enforcers. They're not following the Constitution. So what happened with this incorporation, with the federal government being a legislative democracy, it is governed as an administrative agency. And we've now seen in 1935, Franklin Delano Roosevelt passed the Federal Register Act, which is what started and created all the agencies. Now, you want to understand how you interact with this corporation? Well, free people don't contract with corporations. The government had to make sure they could turn you into channels, and to do that, they had to incorporate you, turn you into your own corporation. 1907, the birth certificate was passed, the act, and through that, and Social Security, when you're born, your parents just sign you up. They don't know that they're signing you into corporate debt slavery. They don't know that they monetize you, turn you into channels for the government. That's the only way the government can truly enslave you is through mandates and through contracting with your corporate vessel. So while you, the free man, with your first and last name, uppercase, lowercase, you believe you exist, but the corporation is the federal government. The corporation is the federal government. They contracted and turned you into a vessel, a corporate shield of yourself with your own cap name. Look at your driver's license, your Social Security, your passport, your bank statement.
There you go, Sarge. What do you think?
Well, Joe, first of all, I've got to say that it was that recording was so garbled, I can only understand every other word. So I'm still don't have the gist
hear you. What's that?
of what you were saying.
You couldn't hear it?
I said that. Well, no, I could hear it, but it was so garbled. It sounded like it was in the bottom of a water barrel. I could only pick up every other word, so I couldn't understand the totality of her argument. Can you summarize it for me?
My bad. Well, I thought you were able to hear it.
No, I could hear it, but it was so garbled and distorted, I couldn't make everything out. I was hearing every other word, maybe.
All right. Well, anyway, she really gets into it, man. I mean, this is like pure, it's perfect. It's perfect how she explains it, because we're not under the Constitution anymore. But anyway, okay. I think Block Talk Radio's screwing up because you sound like you're breaking up too. You're crackling.
No, you sound pretty clear. I mean, I understand you perfectly. I'm just saying that recording sounded distorted and garbled and everything else. It was hard to make it out.
Well, anyway, back to that got arrested.
I heard about that. I hadn't started to look into it yet, so I really don't know what the details are. But what do you know about it?
Well, he was waved around. The cop dragged him. The cop, stop. Jumped into on top of the car like an idiot. The guy drove about 5 to 10 more yards. Then the cop ripped him out of the car, started yelling obscenities at him. Another guy from ESPN got out and his car and tried walking up, and he said, "You get away from me now!" The cop started yelling. It was a big scene, and they arrested him and charged him with second-degree assault.
Well,
that's what's going on.
I guess the devil would be in. I don't understand how that is inherently a 14th. some sort of violation of a constitutional violation. Even if the cop is engaging in misconduct, I don't understand how that's some sort of indication the Constitution is awry.
Well, because these policy
we do understand that police officers occasionally misbehave and worse. So that's why we have laws supposed to penalize them if and when they actually misbehave. That doesn't mean it's wrong with the Constitution.
But Sarge, you wear that badge and uniform, you are to be held at a higher standard. A higher standard.
Now, I'm not saying you shouldn't. Your argument is that your argument is that the arrest of this man shows something wrong with the Constitution.
Yes, it does.
Instead of just
shows something wrong.
Misconduct,
it shows that
maybe,
we're not living under the Constitution.
Wait a minute now. Instead of just maybe being misconduct by a police officer.
No, Sarge. How could he be arrested, this guy? First of all, he puts handcuffs on him, he arrests him, okay? First of all, an arrest and custody are two different things. He detains him, and then he drags him back to his car. That's kidnapping, okay? He kidnapped him, and then put him in the back of the car.
Not if he arrested him,
without reading his rights. Huh?
Wait a minute, it's not kidnapping if he arrested him.
Sure it is. He wasn't. He didn't read him his rights.
Wait a minute, Joe.
Why? Wait a minute, Sarge. You ripped out of his car, Sarge.
Wait a minute, Joe. You have heard the term wrongful arrest, haven't you? Right?
A wrongful arrest, you said?
They still recognize it as an arrest, even if it's wrongful, and it either gets dismissed or allows the person to sue the government that the police officer works for.
Once a constitutional violation occurs, and that's it, the arrest is halted right then and there, and it becomes a false arrest, an abuse of power, and then it violates 242 and 241 of the United States Constitution. Okay,
I still don't understand where the defect in the Constitution is if everything you just said is true.
Because it shows that I'm trying to explain it to you, Sarge. Because it shows that our police are policy enforcers and they're not obeying the Constitution, okay? And it shows that we're not living according to the Constitution like we should be.
Well, so then your problem is with the police, not with the Constitution. Your problem is with the police.
Of course. No, my problem is with the people and the country and everything that's happening in it today. That's what's happening. That's my problem, Sarge.
I think that would be better. I think that would be a more accurate description than to say there's something wrong with the Constitution.
Yeah.
Because some police officer might have misbehaved. Now look.
That wasn't just him.
Wait a minute. Now look, if it turns out that this guy has done something that is wrong, an improper arrest, a violation of department regulation procedure, or even of the law, and they don't do anything to him, then maybe I see your point.
Sarge, there's 30 freaking cameras there. How long does it take to figure out something's been done wrong? It's 13 hours ago.
Look, wait a minute now. We're conservatives. We're conservatives. We don't believe in execution first and trial later, do we?
Yes, I agree. Mm-hmm. You're right.
Because that's what the leftists believe about Donald Trump.
Yeah, I know.
Execution first, trial later. I mean, they're telling you right out. January 6th, Donald Trump committed insurrection. There's nothing more to talk about. Kick him off the ballot. That's what they do. We don't do that.
An insurrection. How could you have an insurrection?
I'm saying that's what they said. They said, look at what he said. He told those people to go to the Capitol and peaceably protest. That is clear evidence that he committed an insurrection, and he needs to be kicked off the ballot and put in jail, no trial, executing.
Well, we
don't do that, Joe. That's not the rule of law. That's not what we do.
It would have never went that far either, Sarge, if Pence didn't betray Trump. And because that's why there was only 150 police or what was there? There wasn't even 150 there. I think it was what? There was 14 at the entrance, and then there was like 100 stationed around the Capitol area.
Joe, you understand me. I share your dismay at what's going on with the country, the rule of law, and the Constitution.
So, yeah.
But you can't apply that to every individual circumstance and case.
Why not?
Not all of it fits with every individual, even outrage.
Sarge, it has to, we have, listen, either, we hang separately. What's the old saying go? We hang together. How's it go? Hang separately? I forgot. My mind's a blank right now.
Well, look, if this police officer did something wrong, then he ought to be reprimanded, punished, disciplined, or even prosecuted. Okay? That I'm just going to
what about the other
give you as
officers
a
that witnessed it, Sarge? They didn't intervene. They're just guilty.
Well, let them all come forward and testify to what they saw. What do you want done with them? You want him immediately thrown in jail? Can we take it to a grand jury?
No. You're missing my point here. Well, why not? They threw the golfer immediately in jail. Well,
that's what police officers do. But see, the idea is you get police officers who won't do that arbitrarily, but that is what police officers do. They arrest somebody, you take them for arraignment, or you take them in and make a bond if it's a misdemeanor.
You do not rip a man out of his car. That is your Fourth Amendment. You're protected by the Fourth Amendment when you're sitting in your automobile. There's no less Fourth Amendment rights in your automobile than there is in your home.
Did he order him to come out of the car? Because it's already been established that a police officer can order you out of the car on a traffic stop, any traffic stop, if the officer decides.
Oh, really?
It's well established. That is well established. Yes. Now that doesn't mean every state does it, because some states don't allow police to do it. I'm simply saying that if a state wants to allow a police officer to do it, there's no constitutional prohibition in doing so.
Really?
That's
where do you get that one from?
That's what we're working on. Okay, that's what the Supreme Court said. Again, some states won't allow it. A state doesn't have to follow. Just because the Supreme Court says that a police officer can do it, doesn't mean that the state has to allow it, except for certain specified instances like a felony.
You sound terrible,
sort of,
your headset sounds terrible today. You sound terrible. You sound
hold on. Let me move over. Let me get over this electric light. I think that's everything I can do close to it. That happens.
Yeah, you're crackling too.
But I'm simply saying that if the police officer ordered him to come out of the car and he didn't come out of the car, then you have a right to forcibly enter the car to take him out.
Well, this is what the Supreme Court says, Sarge. This is what it actually says. It is in our climate today. It says it's important to know what the law says and what your rights are. If an officer requests that you exit your vehicle, are you breaking the law if you refuse? In the United States, no. No laws are broken if the officer says, would you mind stepping out of your car, ma'am? And you say, no, thank you. However, if an officer orders you out of the car and you refuse,
that's what I said.
Refusing to obey the officer's lawful order. The specific crime will depend upon the local statute's verbiage, but it will probably be something like disobeying a peace officer or obstructing a peace officer.
That's right.
That's bullcrap.
So the question is going to be, in the case of this golfer, did the officer order him out of the car? Not a request, because you can refuse a request.
I don't like these orders.
It ain't an order.
I don't like orders.
Did the officer
order stuff?
Get out of the car now. That's an order. If the officer said that, then he would have a right to forcibly enter the vehicle to make the occupant comply.
I just don't like this order stuff. I just don't like it. I don't like it.
Well, I understand, man, but you're talking about the Constitution and what is allowable in the enforcement of laws, and if you don't like it, look, your state can place restrictions on it if you want to. The Constitution is not
there for enforcement of law, Sarge.
You go to your state legislature and tell them, look, forbid the police officers from ordering a person out of the vehicle unless they committed a misdemeanor or a felony, or the traffic offense would warrant a criminal charge of a misdemeanor or felony. If it's just a civil offense, like running a stop sign or 5 miles over the speed limit, then no, the cop can't order the person out the vehicle. You can do that at the state level.
All right, Sarge. Let me bring on 314 here. Go ahead. I think it's Pianki. Go ahead, 314.
Until civilians start civilly suing these police officers that violate their constitutional protection, tearing down their immunity, this stuff's going to continue to go on all the time. You see it all over YouTube with these videos. You got some idiot asses out there that go completely, they zealous. That's what the problem is. They zealous. And they have this ego trip. But no, they do have them out there that does do those things. They're violating citizens' civil and Constitution protection, civil rights.
Yeah.
And that's the person out of the car. And, you know, drivers need to go through a set of procedures asking them to identify themselves. They're supposed to identify themselves. Then you call for a supervisor to come on the scene.
Yep. What do you think of this golf pro?
Yeah.
You heard about this golf pro?
And remember, Joe, again, I'd like to keep emphasizing, you have a state remedy for this. You can limit what the police officers are allowed to do in a traffic stop. It's not like it has to be that way. You get the right people in office who will vote for something different, then the police officer's authority will be limited. It's up to you, the citizenry, to get the right people in office who will pass the legislation that you want.
Now, you're talking after the fact, Sarge. You're talking after the fact. We can't do anything while it's happening.
Yes, and that's the way things work.
Yeah, I know, but
as
what
long
about
as it's not ex post facto law, as long as it ain't ex post facto law, you go with the law that's in place at the time, unless that law is shown to be unconstitutional.
Sarge, we have no Constitution today. We're under a corporation. That's why I tried. I wish you could have heard that video.
All right. Well, I don't think that this case with this golfer would prove that case, even if I might accept that in other things. I don't think the case
Rockman
with
versus something. What is it? The Rockman. I forget the case she cited for the Supreme Court. Where Sarge, fraud was committed upon the American people through duress and force in 1868. Okay. The 14th, we became 14th Amendment slaves. We became chattel. We became incorporated everywhere. We are no longer under a common law system, a constitutional republic. We're a democracy now, democratic. Okay, until we go back and restore our republic, Sarge, we don't have no constitutional rights in a corporation. I'm sorry,
but Joe, the Constitution is a common law document. How can we not be under common law?
We lost it in 1868. What? I just don't understand how you don't really understand this concept.
Yeah, I understand that, but I'm saying the Constitution itself is a common law document.
Yes, and we need to get it back and live by it.
So how can we not be under common law? Everything, common law extensions are determined from the basic common law. So when the court makes any ruling that's in furtherance of the Constitution, that means you've got a common law precedent based on that ruling.
Sarge, if China invades America, right, and takes over our country and establishes a new form of government, we're not under the Constitution no more, right?
Obviously.
Okay. Well, that's what happened in 1868.
Well, Joe, all I know is a document that was ratified in 1787 and has been amended 27 times since then, is still the common law of the land. I'm sorry, I just don't know anything else, not with certainty.
I don't know. I wish you would have heard that video, man. I just don't know how else to play this
amended 27 times subsequently is still the common law of the land.
It's not. When you became the 14th Amendment slave, and then you have lawyers and Esquire running around, the Bar Association took over. You know, I mean, it's just, this woman says it in 4 minutes and 25 seconds perfectly.
I'm going to go back and try to listen to it again because I'm always open to arguments. I'm going to sing this archives. I'm going to go back and listen to what he says again. Like I said, I'm open to arguments, but, you know, like, look, the 14th Amendment, we agreed now. We agreed it was ratified improperly, okay? We agreed on that.
Yes.
And that means that to get that rectified, what has to be done to do that? We have to amend the Constitution, either with a constitutional convention, as many people are talking about doing, or an amendment to the Constitution, or having the issue revisited by the Supreme Court. But one of the things they put in the 14th Amendment was the Supreme Court couldn't revisit it.
I just don't
know. That's why, Joe, that is why I do think the 14th Amendment and the method of ratification for it is suspect. But what are you going to do to get it changed?
Well,
you got to amend the Constitution, or you got to have a Constitution Convention.
It takes
it's part of the Constitution now.
Go ahead, Bianchi.
The courts can't. The courts don't have nothing to do with what the 14th and the 13th was improperly ratified. The Congress has to do that. And
well, the people have to, Bianchi. People.
The only way you do away with the Constitution is that the people the structure that put it in place has to agree to it in the proper numbers. Hell, if you don't have the Constitution, then they have no business locking you up anyway. They don't have no authority over you.
Exactly.
And you don't have to obey no damn laws. What laws? The Constitution allows states to exist.
Yeah.
States allow local governments and municipal governments to exist to set ordinances and so on and so on.
Mhm.
I mean that's just the way it is.
Well, let me explain to you how it happened. Sarge, again, your phone is terrible tonight. I don't know what's going on with you and your phone, but it was like that the other night too.
Hold on, I think let me switch my input here. Maybe it'll be better.
But you know, the thing I was going to
talk about. Is this any better? No, it's terrible. No.
The thing I was going to talk about, I know y'all want to get back on the Constitution. I really do like the way. I like the way Marjorie Taylor Greene, whooped up on those black female Congress people. She whooped their ass. Gave them a good ass whooping.
What the hell does baby girl mean?
I don't know. They don't either. But see, here's the thing. That's the problem with conservatives. They don't fight back. And they don't set their own personal rules. It is simple. We ain't giving up nothing. No compromise. That's the thing.
Yeah.
You want to compromise and come to take it.
Yeah.
And another thing that pissed me off, of course, these two different jurisdictions. This guy, who's probably Pelosi's husband and lover, attacks him with a hammer and gets 30 years. But you had some police officers in New York that got assaulted, stomped on, and they get a plea by illegals, and the illegals are allowed to do a plea deal. There's something wrong with this picture.
You're absolutely correct. Yep. What's wrong with this picture? What's going on? How about the Supreme Court justice they're ranking on now about the flag flying upside down or something? How about that one? You know? I don't know if you heard about that one, Sarge. The Supreme Court justice there that his wife flew the United States flag on January 6th upside down. So they're making a big stink about it now.
Well, it's a display or speech talking about a distress in the justice system with these people that's in the gulag. Haven't been charged. Yeah. How the hell is that allowed to exist?
Yeah. It's crazy, insane. But let me read something here real quick.
Going on all over the place, burning up, tearing up. Hell, we did that for Trayvon Martin, who
I know.
He lost his life because he was trying to hurt Zimmerman. You did that for George Floyd, a porno drug dealer, a drug user that is. But if he had got the right sentence when him and his compadres broke into that pregnant white woman's house and started ransacking it, shoving a gun up against her pregnant belly, shoving her on the couch, stealing her van. Well, if he had got the right sentence, he wouldn't have been there at Chicago and the other streets in the other intersection, and he'd probably be living now.
Same thing with Trayvon Martin. If he'd have been put in the juvenile justice system like he was supposed to when he was getting repeated trouble, criminal trouble in high school, he might be alive today. Because he was supposed to be in the criminal justice system, but owing to Barack Obama and that program that they forced on many of the states, talking about diversion programs, to prevent juvenile delinquents from being put in the juvenile justice system, Trayvon Martin was with his father that night in Sanford. Otherwise, he'd have been in a juvie hall somewhere, and he might still be alive.
Oh, wait a minute, Sarge. Look at all the shit that Albury done in Georgia coming up.
Ahmed Aubrey,
going in stores, stealing TVs and all the other criminal. What about that time he was stopped on the road and he was going to charge the police officer? The police told him to go back to the car. He turned around going to charge the police officer. Well, the cop could have shot and killed him at that point. It's too much
he was a piece of work, all right. He wasn't no angel, that's for sure. But look, speaking of fighting, though, Joe, I'd like to go back to what you said earlier about Donald Trump. What if he gets elected and say he's in prison? Because I think we need to at least start brainstorming this, because there are some things these Democrats could pull claiming that they're citing the Constitution and doing it. And I'll tell you what they might be trying to go by. They could be going by the 20th Amendment. And the 20th Amendment and the 25th Amendment, those two different things. You look at the 20th Amendment, it says that if at the time fixed for the beginning of the term of the president-elect shall have died, the vice president shall become president. If a president shall not have been chosen before the time fixed for the beginning of his term, or if the president-elect shall have failed to qualify. Now, how can a president-elect fail to have qualified? If he doesn't take the oath of office, he cannot assume the office of presidency. What if nobody will give him the oath of office? What if Supreme Court just refused to give him the oath of office? What if no public official says we're going to give Donald Trump the oath of office? Well, guess what? If they got a Democratic Congress, they could say, well, he's failed to qualify. It throws the election in the House of Representatives, and guess what happens? The Democrats install the Democratic candidate as president of the United States. That's one possibility. I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'm saying it's possible. And it also, and the 25th Amendment, is another one they might try to pull. Look what they did with the 14th Amendment. We can't put nothing past these scoundrels. They'll come up with anything they can think of to keep Donald Trump out of the presidency. I'm telling you that right now. And now look, it says whenever the president says that he can't discharge the powers and duties of his office, remember, you got the president elected there, and he's in jail. Well, I can't really effectively discharge the duties of my office from jail, even though there's no constitutional prohibition from me being in charge of the executive branch of federal government from jail. I really can't effectively do it. So guess what happens then? They invoke the 25th Amendment. They take a vote that all the cabinet officers take a vote he's unable to discharge the duties of office, and then guess what happens? Guess what happens then? What? Then they send it to the Speaker of the House. The president can't discharge the duties, and then Congress decides who the president's going to be. See, we must start familiarizing ourselves with every possible scenario, because these Democrats are like nothing I've ever seen, and I think they're willing to do anything to stop this man.
Okay. Well,
now, here's one thing we got going for us. I don't believe the Secret Service is going to allow any president, much less Trump or anybody, to be incarcerated where he could be captured and tortured to reveal what he knows, or as a matter of the prestige of the United States, to have a former president kidnapped and held hostage. The Secret Service is just not going to allow that. So whatever they incarcerate him in, it has to be in a place where he is absolutely secured. You know, like they did with Rudolph Hess in Spandau Prison after the Nuremberg trial. He's the only guy in that whole jail, and they got a whole battalion of troops guarding him. Now, I'm not trying to compare Donald Trump to Rudolph Hess, but I'm saying that it would have to be comparable to that. They would have to secure any president. I don't care if it's Trump or anybody.
Yeah, I know.
Who's convicted of a crime.
That's what you said.
You got to protect him. He loves too much to be allowed to be put in general population.
He's not going to put him in general population. He's put him in isolation.
If he's found guilty, he's allowed to appeal, and that's going to take time.
Well, that's what I got
well,
here.
That's true, of course.
But
like I said, we are not living in normal times, guys. We're not living in normal times. We're living with the most reprobate bunch of people that ever exist in American politics.
I know. All right, this is what I got. If a person is elected president while in prison, it would present an unprecedented situation. The Constitution outlines the qualifications for the presidency, which include being a natural-born citizen, at least 35 years of age, a resident within the United States for 14 years. It does not specify that a person must be free from criminal convictions or incarceration to serve as president. However, practicalities of a president serving from prison would be complex and have never been contested. There are no clear provisions for this scenario, and it would likely raise numerous legal and constitutional questions that would have to be addressed by Congress, the courts, or both at the same time. It's important to note that while there is speculation and discussion about legal proceedings involving former President Donald Trump, as of last update, there has been no definite outcome that would lead to such a scenario. Any legal proceedings would have been concluded and all appeals exhausted before any, like Bianchi just said, before any potential imprisonment could occur. So, therefore, they're saying that he would have to exhaust his appeals. So, therefore, he could not be serving time. It won't happen.
Right, that's true.
So that's what
true.
It says.
But all I'm saying is, though, we need to prepare for any scenario. These people are despicable, and they are prepared to do anything to stop Donald Trump. Look what they look.
Yeah.
You just said the natural-born citizen provision. Well, twice now we've got two people in the executive branch who are not natural-born citizens, and nobody said a peep.
Yeah,
Kamala Harris and Barack Obama. Nobody said a peep about it. They didn't want to examine the issue. Why do we believe anything else is beyond them?
Wait a minute, Kamala Harris is not a legal citizen? I didn't know that.
She's not an Article 2, Section 1, Clause 5 natural-born citizen. She is a 14th Amendment citizen, exactly the same as the subject of the 1868 Supreme Court decision, Wong Kim Ark versus United States. Her birth status is identical to his. She's a 14th Amendment citizen. No 14th Amendment citizen is naturally born. If you didn't have the 14th Amendment, then she would. Wait a minute, Joe. If there hadn't been a 14th Amendment, she would not even be a citizen.
Well, that's what I'm trying to
get.
And
the 14th Amendment, wait a minute, and the 14th Amendment, if you look at the way it is worded, it does not refer to or modify Article 2 in any way, shape, form, or fashion.
Yeah, she's generic. She's generic.
Yeah.
That's what she is.
Well, she's a 14th Amendment citizen. She is a citizen at birth by virtue of the 14th Amendment, which did not exist in 1787 when Article 2 was ratified.
Yeah, that's another one of these things. People are allowing this shit to happen because there's some ignorant asses. That's what the deal is. I don't know how y'all feel it, but that's what I see.
Remember, this is an undoubted fact. Her father was a Jamaican national. Her mother was an Indian citizen. Under the laws of Jamaica and the laws of India, Kamala Harris was born a Jamaican citizen and an Indian citizen. How in the fuck can that person be naturally born an American citizen with no other allegiances?
Yeah. Well, look, let's go back to Buchanan here then. Let's go back. Before the end of Buchanan's administration, nearly all the President Buchanan's cabinet had fled to escape punishment for their treasonous crimes. Buchanan remained longest and remarked in his final days of president, as George Washington was the first, James Buchanan will be the last. President of the glorious display as we further the telltale of the Republic. Mr. Buchanan left his post without honor and the federal government in a very unsettled condition. He kept his secret pledge to the South that the Kansas struggle in becoming a state should not be settled during his administration. Okay, so gross atrocities were committed by pro-slavery men against the free state people who lived there. Buchanan commenced his administration in Kansas affairs, as though the entire territories of the United States belonged exclusively to the slave power. Secret societies were everywhere, organized in Missouri and Kansas. There are affidavits of record in the Kansas committee report to the testimony that these societies were organized specifically to drive free state people out of the territory and to make Kansas a slave state. The Democratic Party had become demoralized from the exalted position of defending human freedom and popular government to becoming a reveler of liberty and deadly enemy of freedom institutions. It set aside the rights of man to make room for Calhoun's rights of the states. Bribery and fraud was the popular means of control in the day, and as long as it served slavery and placed Democrats in office, pro-slavery disunion, anti-abolition, and a death grip on the spoils were the offers of the day that replaced the democratic principles established by Jefferson and Jackson. Abraham Lincoln won the 1860 presidential election without even being on the ballot in 10 of the southern states. It was his victory that triggered the declarations of succession by the seven slave states of the South, along with their formation of the Confederate States of America, also known as the Confederacy, even before Lincoln was inaugurated in office. Now, let's speed up now here. The article stated, this article stated from a Southern newspaper that the Southern leader Calhoun had urged an English gentleman to make known the Southern states' intention to secede from the Union in order to invite the attention of the British government to the coming event. It was stated that the Southern states had resolved to secede from the Union previous to 1839 because of the claimed violations of the Constitution related to tariff issues or plundering of their revenues to a point of harm by the northern states. Included in the published article was the fact that Southern leader Calhoun had sent a missionary, Mr. Mason of Virginia, on the behalf in secret communication with the Jesuit-controlled British government as far back as 1841 with a view to securing its powerful and unalterable resolve to secede from the Union. And then Mr. Mason pleads for the armed intervention of England. It is important consideration that the South produced more than half of the entire world's supply of cotton, a fact that held foreign nations dependent upon the South as the world's leading industrial power. Great Britain's single most important manufacturer at that period at time was cotton, cloth, from which about one-fifth of its population, whether directly or indirectly, found employment. About 75% of their cotton fiber was imported from the American South. Okay, so now here we go. All right. In summary, in the late December 1860, 3 commissioners from the newly seceded state of South Carolina met with lame duck President Buchanan to negotiate for possession of Fort Sumter, a federal installation on Charleston Harbor. Buchanan's attempts to stay the situation, and South Carolina Governor Francis Pickens insisted on Union evacuation of the fort, are ridiculed here. Pickens he's got a picture here of South Carolina's succession and whatnot and blah blah blah. So it's got this is obviously documentation of why the war kicked off and whatnot. Now we got to speed up here. Let's speed up. I'm gonna try to find something here where that can finally convince Sarge of why we're a corporation and what had happened and what really did happen. The United States government under Buchanan refused to abandon its forts that were in territory claimed by the Confederacy, according to the Constitution 1787, as well as the previous Articles of Confederation 1778, Declaration of Independence 1770, and Articles of Association 1774. The Union was to perpetual succession was not a lawful option. Okay? This is a grand allegory of the Civil War in America, harshly critical of the Buchanan administration, Jefferson Davis, and the Confederacy. It gives me a picture here. You guys can't see it, so I'm not even going to read that because it shows a picture of Lincoln and whatnot. And it's an old photo that they drafted up. It was from 1861.
You know what, Joe?
Let's see here. Yeah. Go ahead, Pianki.
The war was not about slavery. The war was you shot at me.
Yeah.
The war was simple.
You're right.
You shot at me. It had nothing to do about slavery.
Exactly.
And if the seceding states had just went on by their business, nothing would have happened because they got a right to leave. They voted to leave like they voted to join. They voted to join.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you also know, Bianchi, that in when Lincoln saying what was read there, since the commencement of Mr. Lincoln's presidential term on March 1861, Russia had emancipated her slaves, and at a significant meeting held in mid-1864 at Geneva, Switzerland, patriotic resolutions were passed applauding the emancipation policy. The good and wise of all countries, from the confines of Russia to then half-civilized Japan, endorsed and sustained it. So President Lincoln issued the Emancipation Proclamation on January. What's that?
Lincoln had no authority over the states that left. He could only free those slaves that sought refuge behind Union lines. That's all he could say. Y'all got to go. Y'all free to go.
Yeah. Well, this is what put him on pressure, though, to bring up the slavery issue, is that President Lincoln issued the Emancipation Proclamation on January 1st, 1863, okay? And I just read to you earlier, 1861, what Russia had done, okay? So, although the Emancipation Proclamation did not end slavery in the nation, it captured the hearts and imagination of millions of Americans and fundamentally transformed the character of the war. And that's was already near the end of the war. So it was not, you're right, it did not start because of slavery. I mean, it was not fought over slavery. Can you imagine a bunch of Northerners fighting come on. And most of the Northerners owned slaves, too, at that time. Because they had more money than a lot of the Southern farmers did, that's for sure. So when Shabaka argues this, it's just ridiculous.
It wasn't anything illegal about it. Another thing.
Yeah.
They claimed that the states were providing cotton to England, and guess where England got a lot of their produce from? Tomatoes, cabbage, stuff that they did not grow. They went down to those African tribes and bargained for them. So, if you're gonna throw claim against the South providing cotton to Europe, well, why don't you throw claim the tribes in Africa for providing them with produce to survive on, and more so providing the human labor that was ended up in what's called the transatlantic slave trade. They provided those. How in the hell is some white? How in the heck is some white gonna go into the interior of Africa with muzzle loading rifles? Muzzle loading rifles. Ain't gonna walk out with millions of people. It ain't gonna happen.
Yeah. It ain't gonna happen. You can go there tonight, Bianchi. Go there tonight and you get killed. You start going to some of those places. Come on, go to Uganda or something. Go where Coney is. Is that guy still alive, that Coney guy? You go there to behead you. Come on. Black or white, for that matter. They don't know what they're talking about.
You had Coney and you had General Butt Naked. And that ain't the only one. There's a lot of them. But the thing is, it was not an illegal activity. It had been going on before they ever met a white face. But
that's
it's always strong.
That's the thing.
And then they want the federal government to pay for it. They ain't got enough government to go after those who and statute of limitations up anyway.
I know. Well, they want to make their own laws. Go ahead, Sarge. Sarge, can't hear you, man. Can't hear you, Sarge. Sarge is he's out. Well, you're still connected, but I can't hear you.
We got to stop getting into these foolish goddamn arguments.
I know.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Sarge.
Yeah, but we got to remember one thing we're having a little trouble getting past is, trying to tell people the state slavery was not illegal. It was not illegal. They keep applying contemporary American understanding to the 19th century to a institution that was legal, no matter how evil it was. Just like today, it is legal to kill human beings in the womb. That is as evil as you can get, but it's legal.
Yeah, that's right. In some states.
And how are you gonna bring some sort of action against someone retroactively 170 years later that was legal?
I know. It's asinine.
I would have gone along with the reparations for newly freed slaves, since they did experience it, and there would have been no prohibition against accommodating their new condition of freedom.
Well, I can buy that.
But damn it, they didn't do it.
No.
The statute of limitations on that one is up. It's been up a long time ago. But they are nursing this because they're trying to keep alive the feelings of grievance. That's why they keep pushing it.
And a free dollar.
Yeah, that's right. Here's another point. You want to try to associate today's judicial standards back then. Well, let's look at this. No slave authorized their future relatives to adjudicate for them. Show me where.
Yeah. Oh, no, that's a good one. Yeah. I like that one. You're absolutely right. Even in their will.
None of them said it's okay. None of them said it's okay for Jesse Jackson to adjudicate for me. And then another thing. If a pure-blooded African was to receive $100 in reparations, what would today's blacks receive who's heavily mixed with whites? So now you got to go
what about the 40 acres and a mule?
To the white family.
Not just whites, but the blood of their slavers.
All right, so what about 40 acres and a mule? What about the mule and 40 acres?
Well, LeVar Burton or Sonny Hobson, they have the blood of their slave master ancestors in their veins.
Let me tell you.
Yeah, but are they not entitled to that land? Yeah, are they not entitled to that?
Let me tell you about the 40 acres. And Gibson, I hope you're writing all this shit down. The land they wanted to give to the slaves, who did it belong to? Technically, what was the argument? Indians' land.
No, that's true. Yeah, you're right.
Mississippi, Georgia, Florida, that was Indians' land. South Carolina, it belonged to the Indians. That's what the argument was about. The Indians owned slaves that they started to free in 1866 in April. And you know what they said? They said, if you want us to give up our property, you got to pay us for it. And I'm telling you, the last payment was made either to the Choctaw or the Creek, not the Creek, the Cherokee, in 1957.
That's interesting.
We're being bamboozled, man. We got to stop bending over to be bamboozled and shout.
Yeah, that's interesting. You know, and I was wondering why Jackson, though, wanted to get the Trail of Tears going and he moved all those Indians out. It wasn't because he was going to he knew slavery was going to be abolished in the future and was going to have to, maybe he thought maybe the land was going to eventually have to be, I don't know. You know, we weren't there. It's gone. It's over with the history. Move on.
Yeah, but you see, you got to remember why they won't give it up, though. They won't give it up because it's too damn lucrative. Why give up the racial grievance industry when you can profit from it so much? Okay, maybe you won't get the reparations, but here's what you can get. You can get quotas. You can get affirmative action. You can get racial preferences. You can get all kind of racial-based stuff. We're not going to give it up as long as it's as profitable as it is.
Free.
Yeah,
free,
and look
right?
who's wanting to give it. And look who's wanting to go along with that shit. Your damn elite. Your Yale, your Harvard, and these at Princeton.
Berkeley.
The elite fools.
That's right.
They already coming up with some illegal stuff when you be creating this equity, diversity, and inclusion, and putting people in places that's based on their skin color that they don't qualify. I'm not going against the children, but God damn it, the parents and the family should have prepared the children, and they don't do that.
Well, listen, guys, I'm going to get ready to head over to Robert's show. But Sarge, I'm going to wrap up the show with playing that video again. Hopefully you can hear it, okay? I'm going to try.
Okay, give it a shot, because it definitely was bad the last time I got here.
Yeah, a couple people have asked me to try playing it again, so let me give it a shot and see if I can get a better quality of it. All right, let me try it.
The reason the original 13 Amendment was drafted after the war makes me call was because we didn't want King squires running our country. They came back to try and steal it from us, and we said, no, thank you. In 1819, that's what happened. No matter the liberty, but for 19 copies of the original 13th Amendment that have been codified into parchments all over this country. Not necessarily because of the Civil War. The surface in 1865, when they rewrote the 13th Amendment and made it about the voluntary services of slavery. Okay? That's the first big lie. The second big lie was 3 years later, in 1868, the 14th Amendment was drafted, and they tried to shove it down everybody's throat. 41% of the states said, we don't want this. 2 actually held out, New Jersey and Ohio said, God, no, we don't want to be part of the United States. We don't want to lose our freedom. The Virginians, New Jerseyans, Ohioans, New Hampshire, whatever. They didn't want to change their title. They didn't want to change their status. They wanted to remain a union of states where we were independent nation states, treating amongst ourselves. Everything was great. We were Americans. Were we not Americans from 1776 till 1868? We were Americans. In 1868, they forced the United States citizenship status on everybody. Unconstitutionally, by the way, because it was done as a direct, as a fraud, and that was proven in 1878. U.S. versus United States versus Throckmorton. Fraud mitigates everything. I'm sure you've heard that phrase before. So now we're U.S. citizens in 1868, but 3 years later, the USDC, the United States District of Columbia, was formed and incorporated, a federal corporation, that's right, governed by a legislative democracy. Meanwhile, America was a constitutional republic. So you see, we have 2 different governments going on in this country, but that same year that they incorporated the U.S., the Bar Association was also formed. Now, we all know that the Bar Association is really responsible for most evil in this country. Yeah. Right? Yeah. They're just a dude, they're nothing more than teachers, except they are trying to win their ability. What do we have running around Capitol Hill right now? Lots of attorneys. Lots of titles of nobility, lots of esquires. And the corporation, the corporate shield, the corporate construct was born. The attorneys have been behind it all. And I know some great attorneys who agree with me. One of them is Todd Calendar, Tom Rose. They both agree. You should do what Ann does. You should opt out of this crazy system. Because what has happened with the corporation and the incorporation of everything, the federal government, then all the states became subchapters, your municipalities, your counties, all of it downline, and all incorporated. So the de jure constitutional seats of government were abandoned for working for the corporation. Your police officers, I know there's great police officers who respect our law and order like President Trump says, but there's a lot that just work for the corporation. They work for the municipal, they're policy enforcers. They're not following the Constitution. So what's happened with this incorporation, with the federal government being a legislative democracy, it is governed as an administrative agency. As we have now seen in 1935, Franklin Delano Roosevelt passed the Federal Register Act, which is what started and created all these agencies. Now, you want to understand how you interact with this corporation? Well, 3 people don't contract with corporations. The government had to make sure they could turn you into chattel, and to do that, they had to incorporate you, turn you into your own corporation. 1907, the birth certificate was passed, the act, and through that, in Social Security, when you're born, your parents just sign you up. They don't know that they're signing you into corporate debt slavery. They don't know that they've monetized you, turned you into chattel for the government. That's the only way the government can truly enslave you, is through mandates and through contracting with your corporate vessel. So while you, the free man, with your first and last name, uppercase, lowercase, you believe you exist. What the corporation has done with the federal government, the corporation of the federal government has done is they've contracted and turned you into a vessel, a corporate shield of yourself with your all-caps name. Look at your drivers, your social security, your passport.
There you go, Sarge. I hope you were able to hear it.
Still a little hard for me to hear it. I'm going to go back and listen to the show.
Oh, my Lord.
Yeah, I'm going back and listen to the show, I got it on. I can put it on speakers. I can adjust the equalizer, and I'll be able to hear it pretty good. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. All right, I'm gonna head over to Robert's show.
Okay,
all right.
I'll
see you over there, man. God bless you. Take care. God bless the Republic. Everybody else that was listening, appreciate it.